out to be. He's an awful, lovable little squirt. Yes, I named him after the Silver Kid, if you must know. So, I was named after the patriarch of this family, and this letter proves it right here.
An attorney will bring documentation, of course.
And Ken's Chris is named after Grandpa Yoder, too. So.
Oh, that's nice.
I only wish I had the voice.
They're both lawyers.
Yeah,
I
isn't
wish
that
I had the
interesting?
voice of Chris Yoder.
Oh. They're both attorneys. Funny.
Though a burden bearing, never be despairing, ever on the blessed Lord rely, trusting Him completely, to His bidding sweetly. And the joy is coming by and by. And this joy is coming by and by. When we reach the city that is built on high forever, to the promise clinging as we travel homeward singing. For an endless joy is coming by and by. Now we bend in sorrow, but when comes the morrow, nevermore our souls will grieve or sigh. In the land of glory, we shall sing the story. Endless joy is coming by and by. Endless joy is coming by and by. When we reach the city that is built on high forever, to the promise clinging as we travel homeward singing. For an endless joy is coming by and by. Storms today may sweep us, but the Lord will keep us. We shall have His presence ever nigh. He will be inside us to uphold and guide us. Endless joy is coming by and by. Endless joy is coming by and by. When we reach the city that is built on high forever, to the promise clinging as we travel homeward singing. For an endless joy is coming by and by and by.
Amen.
Hear the voice of my beloved, gently call at close of day. Come, my love, oh come and meet me. Rise, oh rise, and come away.
shadows for my Lord to call for me. Now the morning breaks eternal. In its light, His face I see. Now the morning breaks eternal, and at last His face I see. When you see the fig tree budding, you will know the summer's near. When you hear the words I've spoken, you will know my coming's near. Keep on listening, my beloved, for my coming's very
Cook in Portland home. On June 16, 1934, Donella was united in marriage to Edwin K. Hooley at her parents' home near Hubbard. Now, in those days, when you went to work in Portland, you worked for the aristocrats. We don't talk about aristocrats anymore, but you worked for aristocrats. And one man she worked for was Judge Stearns. He was a judge in Portland. And he chased her around and caught her in a corner one time and tried to take advantage of her, but she got away from him. So anyhow, I don't know how Dad caught her, but they resided in Portland until moving to Sweet Home, then returned and made their home in Hubbard. More about that. Mom always wanted to be by her mother. She loved her mother. And we moved to Sweet Home, and Dad was logging and having a great time up there, and we were hunting and doing all the things that men want to do, and Mom always wanted to go back to where her mother was. So Dad came back to Hubbard and went to work in the tile factory. He really did a sacrifice for Mom for that. And then Grandma died about a year later, so they weren't there long. Dawn worked as a cook at Hubbard Grade School, clerked at Hudson's Department Store and Handy's Market in Woodburn. After the death of her husband, Ed, in 1973, she worked at Boget's in Hubbard and remained in the family home until the fall of 2004. Dawn had a life filled with music and sang in quartets, choirs, and was blessed with a beautiful alto voice. She is survived by her sons Ken Hooley and wife Dorothy, Ed Hooley, two grandsons, Christian Hooley and his wife Lisa, Lowton Hooley and his wife Jennifer, and four great-grandchildren, Katie, Max, Sam, and Olivia. One brother, Bud Yoder, and two sisters, Fern Conrad and Carol Yoder. She was preceded in death by her husband Edwin and one sister Mildred. Private interment was at Zion Mennonite Cemetery near Hubbard on August 6th with a family reunion celebration following.
Wow.
We had a great funeral for Mom. We all went out, and the boys and I and Bud carried her. Don't do that, Bud. I can't do it. Carried her casket over and put it on the grave, and we had a little service and sang a song or two. And lowered her down the ground, and then the boys and I and grandchildren got to put some dirt on Mom. It was a special thing for me. But she was a great mother. It was a special time for us. I don't know what else I can tell.
Bob's daughter, Bob and Sylvia, and this is my husband Jay, and we live in Turkey, and we've been there for 11 years, and it's great to be here with y'all today. And Elaine wanted me to share a little bit about what it's like working in Turkey. Is that where we've been for the last 9 years. We did language study to start out with. Where we've been for the last 9 years has really become home for us. It's the only home that our son has really known. He was a baby. He was 4 months old when we moved there. And it's a city of 500,000 plus people, so it's a very large city. And the fellowship we struggled to plant there was smaller than the group of you gathered here today. But each Sunday to get together took about as much work as it takes to get all of you here together today, because in that many people, just getting believers to come together is a real challenge. And some of the
You all remember the house that we lived in Portland, I think, at least I know I remember it. When we walked through the living room and towards the kitchen, the stairway to the basement was off to your right, and then the kitchen was straight ahead, and then off to the left here was just a little porch area and a bathroom, about where Jan's at, and then the back door, the way to the back door. I remember one time that Don and a bunch of you were there. In fact, Fern, this may have actually been a story about you, but
You're over 50.
Everybody was there, and I remember having to go to the bathroom, and I didn't want to go to the one upstairs, and so I went to the one right there off of the kitchen. And I'm in the bathroom there, and I hear this voice outside in the kitchen that says, "I can hear you." It was Aunt Dawn, I'm sure of it. And ever since then, I've been self-conscious.
Yes.
I'm sure it was Dawn. I love being able to stand up in front of people and share a few things, particularly when my mom and dad are here, because I know it makes Dad nervous. He came to visit our church on Father's Day a year ago, and for those of you that have visited, I use the PowerPoint stuff to go along with the sermon, and Dad was there, and sure enough, there with his picture up on the I felt like what when I heard that Dawn had passed away, I felt like what I had prepared to share with you today was still very fitting, because I know she loved family, and she loved this kind of thing, and she loved the the faith and knowing the faith and the love for God. And that's the kind of thing I wanted to share with you today. But what I pursued was a little family history, because when I found that I would go to apply for a driver's license or anything that the government required, usually they ask you a question, well, what's your mother's maiden name? and I would say Yoder. And they would say, no, what's her maiden name? What's her name before she got married? And I would say, Yoder. And so what I wanted to know is how these two are related. I wanted to find that out. So I did a little research, and this is true. As far as I can tell, this is true. Now, my wife, Jacque, has also done some her family has done some things, traced clear back to John and Priscilla Alden, Mayflower.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So I haven't been able to get that kind of famous stuff, although there are some famous people in our history. What I want to do here is share with you a little bit about how what I found to be true about how mom and dad are related. Okay? And I'm going to do this by having some of you hold a name. Okay, so this name represents a name in our family's genealogy. But I'm going to start with you, because you're Mr. Yoder. I couldn't find Mr. Yoder's first name. Mr. Yoder is in Switzerland, and he's born in 1675, and he dies somewhere around before 1782. But he's in Switzerland. He's in Switzerland. Mr. Yoder has two sons. The first one's name is Jacob. And hang on a second. Got these out of order. Here we go. Christian. Jacob and Christian are brothers. Jacob and Christian are brothers, and they decided in 1742 to come to America.
You're really determined.
Your name's been changed, buddy.
Make up your mind, Bob.
Oh, switch chairs. Oh, no, I don't know what's going on here.
No wonder I get nervous.
You have a right to.
So these two are brothers. No, you stay with it. These two are brothers, and in 1742, they decide that they're going to immigrate to America. And so they get on the Francis and Elizabeth immigration ship. And you can find that ship's passenger list. And I found that list. There were, I think it was 240 some passengers on board that ship. And all the men over 16 had to sign a commitment to the King George. This is before America has become a nation. And so in amongst those are Christian and Jacob's names on that passenger list. Jacob dies at sea on the way. Jacob is married to Barbara. Jacob is married to Barbara, and they had a son named Jacob as well. This is This is the same one that from time to time maybe you've heard in the Yoder genealogy or the Yoder history about a strong Jacob Yoder. Strong Jacob. Now, I've heard a lot of stories about strong Jacob. I tried to find out if any of them were true. I don't know. But here's one. Here's one that I remember hearing about one time. Strong Jacob was out in the field plowing. Someone comes along and asks directions to the town or to someplace. And he says, "Oh yeah, I know right where it's at. Right there." Picks up that plow and points right to it. Strong Jacob. I don't know. That's a true story, I'm sure. Christian has a son named Yost. Kind of an interesting name. The only other Yost that I was able to find in the Yoder genealogy, I did go back and just find out in Switzerland there was a Jost, J-O-S-T, Joder. Jost Joder.
Oh, interesting.
So Yost was probably named after him. 1734, dies in somewhere around before 1847. That's over 100 years old. Wow.
There's where Mom got somebody.
That's pretty amazing. We don't know exact date of death, but somewhere in that time frame. How am I doing? Jacob. Did I get these out of order?
I don't know. You made your mom and dad move.
That's what threw me off.
Should we move back?
No, don't move.
Maybe Sam could switch.
You gotta go back to his
I gotta check my notes.
Check your nose now.
Okay, here we go. Jacob.
Son of Christian.
Christian.
Another one.
Another Christian on this
Wow.
side of the family. 1761 to 1847. Christian lived 86 years. The Lewis and Clark expedition takes place during Christian's lifetime. 1804, 1805, 1806. So he's
Where'd he live?
50 years. Christian lived in Pennsylvania. By the way, well, that's where Christian and Jacob chose to settle. They got off the ship at Philadelphia and then settled in Pennsylvania. So both families are still in Pennsylvania at this time. Okay, I gotta speed this up. This history stuff is kind of boring.
It is not boring.
Okay.
We know where it's gonna end up.
Another thing about Yost and Christian, the Battle of the Alamo is fought during their lifetime. 1836 is when that takes place. Christian has a son named Joseph. 1784. There he is. You can be Joseph.
All right.
Okay, we're going to change your name today. Okay. Joseph lives 79 years. 79 years. Okay. Okay, well, let's keep going on this side as well. David. David is born to Yost. David lives 109 years.
Wow.
At least what I can tell. I don't know. I couldn't find anything. In fact, I tried to verify this through different sources, and that's what I got. So, amazing. Long life. That's going to change here in a minute. During Joseph and David's lifetime, Oregon becomes a state. 1859. 1859. Oregon became a state. Okay, we're ready for Christian G. Christian G is born in 1818 to David, and there'll be another Christian G. This is Christian G, who was born in 1818 and lives to 1889, 71 years. The Civil War is fought during Christian G's lifetime. Civil War. Joseph Jr. Joseph Jr. is born on this side about the same time. So that's kind of what's going on at that point in time.
Still in the same
At
areas?
this point, they're still in Pennsylvania, except it appears that Joseph chose to move the family to Indiana at that time. It looks like about that time is when that took place. Could be because the Civil War was starting to take place. That could have been what was going on.
Sure, get them out of there.
Gettysburg.
All right, here we go.
That's the Yoders from Indiana.
Christian G. Israel T. That's you.
Oh. Grandpa.
Israel T. Israel T. Born in 1854, dies in 1931. The Civil War. The railroad is completed. Transcontinental Railroad is completed during his lifetime. Up until that time, the only way you could get across America is either around the Horn, or a stagecoach, or some other form of. There was no railroad to get across the country. Israel T. lived during that time.
And his gravestone is in Belleville Cemetery. We went there when we went back.
Okay. And over on this side, at the same time, is Levi D. Levi D.
Oh,
1861 to 1939, and I believe the house that they ended up living in Oregon was just up the road here, wasn't it?
Oh, wow.
So that's the one that came to Oregon.
Well, I couldn't tell. Is it Levi or your dad that brought the family to Oregon?
That's with Levi.
Levi. Yeah.
Old Jane. Old Jane.
Yeah.
Oh, Levi was the husband of Old Jane?
Yeah.
And the house was just right up this road, right up here.
It's over on
Now, why isn't it old Levi?
where we used to
There
live.
you go.
Oh, how
Okay, now let's see what else we
Tile Factory Road.
Oh, the telephone is invented in their
my
lifetime,
goodness.
1876. So that's when they can talk to each other, to their families across the country.
Huh.
Pretty amazing. I guess I didn't need to have you move after all. Well, you get to be Christian G. Christian G is Grandpa, 1887 to 1946. Don, you can be Lonnie. 1891 to 1973. My grandpa on Dad's side, my grandpa on my mom's side. And
Does that make you and
so,
John friends? Look at what that makes you.
so what I found out in answer to the question, what's your mom's maiden name? It's Yoder. But it goes all the way back to Mr. Yoder in Switzerland. At least what I figured out, according to the rules of counting cousins and once removed and all of that stuff, 6 cousins once removed.
Oh, amazing.
That
Once removed thing mean?
Once removed.
It has to do with, the once removed has to do with the number of generations from one side to the other. And if there's more on, there's one more on this side. Yeah. What you do is you figure out, you figure out where they meet, and then you just count the number of G's. Grandfather, great-grandfather. You just count them and then subtract the other from the other side. That's the one. Hey, I'm not done.
This explains why he's like he is.
There's something I want you to observe about that. There are at least 16 names to get to Mom and Dad. I didn't give them nameplates because I figured you knew them. There are 16 names to get there. Notice how many biblical names we have around this circle here. There are at least 12. I could not find Yost or Lonnie in the Bible. Or Mr. Yoder. However, I did find out that his name may have been Hans, which is John. Thank you, John. No, so that's pretty amazing. A lot of biblical names in our family history. Now I want you to notice there are 2 Jacobs and 2 Josephs and 4 Christians. Now this is the part that I think your mom would really appreciate. Christian. Christian. We like to be called Christian because we have the faith in God. And that's what we are called because of that. In Romans chapter 12, verse 1, Paul encouraged the believers there, the Christians there, and he said this. He said, I beseech you by the mercies of God, because you are Christians, offer your bodies as living sacrifices. That's holy and pleasing to God. That's your reasonable service. That's the reasonable thing to do. Our history is very much founded in biblical faith. We got a history of Christians by name and by name. Paul also said in Ephesians, he said, I urge you to walk worthy of the calling. In Philippians chapter 1, verse 27, he said, whatever happens, conduct yourselves worthy of the gospel of Christ. Yoder family, we are Christians. We need to walk worthy of that. And I think that's what Donnell would have said. She took Ken at 11 years old and said, walk worthy. Peter captured that in his epistle as well. And there's a verse in Peter that says this. If you suffer as a Christian, do not be ashamed, but praise God that you bear that name. One time I had an adult Sunday school class. We were studying the book of Peter. Now, I don't want you to laugh at me about this, because what I did, in order for them to learn how to memorize that verse, I taught them a rap about that verse. I'm going to give it to you. If you suffer as a Christian, do not be ashamed, but praise God that you bear that name. If your name is Yoder, you should be proud. It's a godly line. Shout it out loud. Well, I'm a Yoder, and so are you. Let's praise God for this godly crew. Whether a Yoder by blood or married in, God placed you here. Are you his kin?
I'm standing on the promises of God. Joy in the Lord, who face temptation sore. Where could I go but to the Lord? Where could I go? Where could I go? Seeking a refuge for my soul. Needing a friend to help me in the end. Where could I go but to the Lord? Neighbors are kind, I love them everyone. We get along in sweet accord. But when my soul needs manna from above, where could I go but to the Lord? Where could I go? Where could I go? Seeking a refuge for my soul. Needing yet when I face the chilling hand of death, where could I go but to the Lord? Where could I go? Where could I go? Seeking a refuge for my soul. Needing a friend to help me in the end. Where could I go but to the Lord?
That's good. That's good. Let's come to the good part. We're going to collect some money.
Take an off.
Can we use your hand?
Perfect.
Don't give it to Bob.
No, I know.
Got some money?
We're not going to give it to Sammy either.
What are you going to give it to?
It just, I found out it costs money to put this thing together, so I think we need to have a kitty.
Right.
And,
So, oh, no, you don't.
no.
I don't have to personally.
No, you don't want to give anything. No, you don't want to. No, this is,
Yes,
you can.
Yes, I have been. I had your chair, too.
No. Oh. When are they coming to get
Stole your lid.
Oh, that's perfect. That's around 3:30 then. Perfect.
Oh, you did. Yes, I almost forgot about
Yeah, that works out great.
Have your own chariot?
Oh, you guys, I almost blew it
Yeah, her
there.
limo, brother. Limousine. Yeah.
Limousine comes a little good.
On this? Okay.
For dust, yeah.
In case anybody hasn't cried here today, you're going to get a chance. She's not listening. If you haven't cried here today, Fern, you're going to get a chance.
What?
If you haven't cried today, you're going to get a chance. I want you to listen to this song. This is Mom singing a cappella all by herself. Then right after we've got a quartet of 4 Yoder girls singing.
Through the land as I go, pointing souls to Calvary, through the crimson flow. Many arrows pierce my soul from without within, but my Lord leads me on, through Him I must win. Oh, I want to see Him, look upon His face, then to sing forever all the saving grace. On the streets of glory, let me lift my voice. Cares all past, home at last, ever to rejoice.
Now comes the quartet. Mom's singing the little part. Now Mid's going to have a solo here. Is that Caroline True Fern? Now this is Mid. Just a couple verses. She's safe at home now.
Wow, yes. singing.
The pastor and his kids at our church, his wife, sing a song about I have a special heritage. Boy, we've got a special heritage.
I have to tell you, when I was a kid in school and came home from when we lived at Yoder, and you girls were sitting in the living room singing that song and practicing it, and you'd sing it over and over, there was so much laughing going on, and then they'd point their fingers at each other. Now, that's not right. You don't sing it like that. And I remember I loved that when I came home. There was so much happiness and joy as they were practicing. But boy, when they got it right, they were good.
I think it, well, I don't know. It might have come from Squeezy. Do you know about that at all? I'm not sure where that came. Yeah, we want to copy those off. Get them to me or somebody, I'll get them done.